on another episode of Black and Blanco Uptown Voices, live from the Heights edition. And we have our good friend Adrian Miranda, who was the man behind the visionary behind Uptown Books that took place last week. I was super blown away by it. I saw it before Octavio, so I kind of gave him like, "Yo, my man, get ready. This is gonna be an amazing show." And like I was trying to tell you earlier that like it was such a special moment for it to be in Word Up Books and to kind of create this thing. It was felt surreal. How did it? I know you must be super proud. How you feeling right now, Adrian?
I'm very proud. First of all, Black and Blanco. How many times have you said that on the show? Because I
Black and
think
Blanco, Blanco. Say that five times. Black and
Black and
Blanco.
Blanco, Black and Blanco, Black and Blanco.
right.
It's like it reminds you of Black and Yellow, Black and Yellow.
Yeah, exactly. Wasn't there like a parody made like jamón y queso,
Jamón y queso, yes, by my
Pan
man.
con, pan con
Diaz.
queso, pan con queso.
That was it.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah.
So, but no, it was awesome because when you're all of you are creators in some form or another, right? This podcast, right? You had the idea, and then now it's happening, and you have I don't know how many thousands of millions of episodes and hours and minutes, but like the cool thing was that it worked. That's what I'm most proud about. The feedback, like, y'all came up to me afterwards and you really enjoyed it, but more so, when there's catastrophes in a production, that's what you stress out about, and then I'm not sure who was in the show. Led, did you come to the first show
I came
on
to the
Saturday?
first show. I was there on Saturday. Yep.
Okay, so was there somebody that came into the show? Like a
Yeah,
random?
yeah. There was a random dude.
Yeah.
That was like, and I had to ask Tuta. Like Tuta was like, "Is that dude part of the show?" Because it was weird. Because he started like angrily, like kind of arguing a little bit, but the guys kind of worked it. But it looked like it was part of the show, right? It didn't look like it was because you guys kept it moving. You didn't miss a beat. So I was like, "Was that part of the show?" I don't think so. Because my man looks very real.
So that was something I thought about because you can't really lock the doors, right? Because if you have people coming in late for the show, you want to be able to kind of open door quietly and not interrupt. So I had thought about like, what if a random person comes in? I didn't think if a random loud person would come in people would question if they're part of the show. But homeboy, like, is an older gentleman with a cane and talking really loud in the middle of like the intense scene, right, where I'm yelling at one of the actors. And then what's funny is he finally leaves, and I'm at the door with like my final like screaming monologue thing, and then my hands opening the door, and I'm doing like, "Do I make myself clear?" And the guy's already on the outside. He's like, "Yeah, fuck him up." It's like
That's
like
hilarious.
kept it together. He said that for real.
Oh my
as I'm holding
God.
the door open, he's like, "Yeah, fuck him up." And then he like kind of watching to see what happens. I close the door, and he was kind of out of the picture at that point. But that kind of added to that. Is this part of the show? And
It really
I wanted
did.
that to a certain degree. I just didn't expect someone to be loud and kind of like a little bit off-putting. People, but it worked out, right? So
It worked out. Like it really
worked
was
out.
kind of weird though, like you said, because what's interesting, like, all right, it's already surreal, right? Because you're in a bookstore and it's an immersive bilingual play in a bookstore. So at the beginning, I know Tuto, right? I knew you, but I didn't know everyone else, right? So it was like I don't know who was who. You know what I mean? So the guy that did the disruption, I thought he was part of it, and he acted in a certain ways like he was part of it. Like he could care less about what was happening, and then he was on your side at the end, which is hilarious. I think I find it hilarious.
Yeah, I'm like, I should cast them.
He's for the next
Like,
one.
who is
Uptown Books too.
Yeah. But to answer your question, everything went logistics wise, right? As a producer of anything, it was mostly the logistics worked out, and then everybody's comments from the audience were great, and then the comments from the actors was even better. After Sunday, Octavio, after Sunday's show, I think 4 of the actors were like, "Oh, when are we doing this again? When's the next
That's
show?
awesome.
Are we doing this again?"
That is the question. When are we doing this again? Because I know that the intention is for the show not to just have been those three shows on that weekend, but for it to be more than that and for it to continue. So, do you have any inkling of when is this going to happen again? Where is it going to happen again? How is it going to happen again?
Yeah, well, the how is the easy question, if we do that recirculation. So I already emailed the team at recirculation. We may talk tomorrow, Monday, or this week. about the next shows. But yeah, the idea is to run it through April in some form or another. Recirculation to me is its home. However, I also made sure that it could be moved to different places. So Inwood Public Library, the New York Public Library at Inwood, I actually did reach out to them, and they were like, let's talk after the holidays. They got back to me, which is a huge accomplishment, because I've emailed them before about video projects and the Uptown Actor stuff, and I got no reply. But yeah, the idea is, I changed even the script to be, this is a setting of a bookstore, a library, a place where there's books, right? So Octavio, we could do it behind you in your home, but or Led in your apartment right there, right? So the idea was to keep it simple enough that it can be moved around and put in different places. Recently, I even am looking into licensing and publishing it so that other schools and universities can use it. Maybe high schools or university or conservatories or theaters, like community theaters, can use it. It's a one-act play, right? So it's not a full-length play, but you can still use that as either a teaching or an experience builder, or fully produced like we did. But yeah, the idea is we're in the Heights, we're in 120 from 125th to the Bronx. What kind of location can we replicate that's not enormous, but also gives the same feel as Recirculation? But I would love it to be Recirculation. We just do it there and get people to come, right, from all over the place.
I really liked the length of it, the fact that it was a one act, and that it was relatively, it wasn't short, like you didn't feel like you had seen something, but it wasn't long, like you had to devote your entire day to it. It was actually a really nice sort of about 40 minutes, close to close to that, and you could go about your day. You could mill around the bookstore and make a purchase and see what you had there. You could go to your next event, whether it be dinner or lunch. I thought that was really, really neat. And I did feel like the acting was on point, and like for community acting, for community theater, that can be, sometimes it can be a challenge, but no, that was, you had some very, very, very talented people. And like Led said, the narrator with the music, she was so good. And it was so nice for that to connect each of the little vignettes together. I thought it was sweet. And I walked away having felt something, having felt your story, and also having felt part of the community, which I think is something that's so important. And so, yeah, I really do hope that that you can recreate it. I recommend also that you reach out to the library on 179th Street. It's a small enough library, but it's been completely redone. I could totally see your play going in there, and it might have, in terms of timing and stuff like that, and space and events, it might be maybe easier than Inwood, which is really chock full of community events already. But check it out. It's a really cool space.
Yeah,
now I
didn't know it was open again. It's the bookstore I used to go to as a kid, and
that's my childhood library too. Yeah,
right.
It's beautiful. Go ahead,
tell me about the narrator. I cut Led off earlier before this. Was like, no, just save it for the show.
Yeah, I was saying the narrator on the show, she was so talented. She was like the glue. You know what I mean? And it's funny because that's the same song. It sounded so good live with her playing, and the way she kind of seamlessly, she was excellent and brought it all together. So, but you did everything, right? You wrote it, directed, acted it. What didn't you do in this thing?
I didn't write the first two songs, so that I didn't do. But I wrote the last two songs. I wrote it, directed it, produced it. What else?
Kudos, brother.
Everything.
Kudos. That's a feat in itself, man. You should be very proud.
Jack Romashoff, he lives on near Dykeman, local. He's part of the Uptown Actors. He's a DP, director, filmmaker. His film was in the Inwood Film Festival this past run, and photographer as well. He did the photos for the main poster where I'm sitting there kind of sleepy, and other actors there, and the design.
Oh, those were great, by the way. Those photos, those posters were really nice.
Yeah. And then everything else I did, all the other graphics that I did, all the other lines I made. But yeah, everything else, yeah, acting, writing, directing, I did it all.
Who was the who played the dad? Who played the not the dad?
So there was two.
I don't want to. I don't want to give. I don't want to give everything away. I might have
My
just
daddy,
like,
you mean?
Why'd you do that?
Oh man,
Well, you know,
that was.
you
Forget
get
about it.
surprised regardless, even if you know the ending, because you don't expect it. You know, like a random person
Yeah.
comes in, they're like, "Are they part of the play?" No, and then you see the actual act.
Okay, so you know who I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Who played that? Because he was very good. I gotta give him his kudos.
So there's two, right? So let's Jonathan Allers, different, and then definitely a different acting and choices, and then Octavio, you saw Vincent Saya.
Wow. Oh, I didn't know that. I thought it was the same. That's yet another level of depth.
Yeah.
Look, we really enjoyed the show. Led, I know you did. We're trying to pack it in here. Adrian, you don't have to leave. You can hang out if you want.
Yeah.
But we have another guest in the wings. So we're gonna try to get him on. But before we do that, Led, give me an update. I can't figure out if we're on Instagram. Can you?
Yeah, we are, but it looks like it's a little off. I think, you know what I mean, because I see it here. But it just goes back and forth between things. So I'm not, it looks good and then looks bad, looks good and looks bad. It's kind of like whatever. But didn't Adrian have to tell us something? Are you doing something else, Adrian? Like what's next for you, brother, before we go to Frank?
Really, I mean, follow me on Instagram at Gross Anatomy Studios, and then on LinkedIn, Adrian Miranda. Just look for it. It should be like linkedin.com/in/Adrian MPT. I share everything on LinkedIn, like even like when I sneeze backstage. So everything is there. What's next is Uptown Books we're doing another performances. The goal is to run it through April in various places. Recirculation should be its home, but I understand if like we have to go other places. And then I'm also working on a solo rock musical, pretty much inspired and based around, my father passed away of AIDS, and I just found out just a couple years ago, but it kind of reflects family histories and family stories and grief and mourning and family dynamics and things like that. So it's a solo rock musical. I recently literally just finished the band. So we have a guitarist, which is Delson Hernandez. He's local. Greg German, who's a drummer. D, who's a bassist, and Wiley, who's a violinist. So we have a violinist, electric violin in the show. Wow. And trying to do it, my goal is to do it as a dine-in experience. So I'm looking at different venues in the neighborhood that have like kind of like a chill atmosphere in the evening. And it's, you get to eat, drink, and then watch a rock show about, kind of a solo theatrical storytelling rock musical. So that's my current project, as Uptown Books is kind of like has legs and kind of move on. And I'll be in that, not every single show, but I'll be in that and do the rock musical. But that's like the next theatrical stage amongst a million, like 5 other films that we're doing in Uptown Actors in 2026. But as far as the theater, those are the next 2 updates. And if you follow me on Instagram, you'll see small bits. On LinkedIn, you'll see everything, that I'm working on, like day by day.
And don't forget that parody of In the Heights. I think it's a great idea. I think you should keep it going.
Yeah, so that's exactly one of the 6 movies that I'm working on in 2026. So that's definitely happening. So as far as the movies, there's In the Heights, a movie musical parody. There's a Lindy Hop. It's called the Lindy Hop movie. And then there's, oh my gosh, I forgot the other 2. There's 2 other ones that were.
So a vertical. You're not busy at all.
A vertical micro drama about. Based on stories of Open Hands, which is a legal firm in the neighborhood that helps a lot of different people pro bono, and so it's a vertical kind of dramedy, micro drama that we're doing. So based on that, collaborating, probably filming at Juan Pablo Duarte Foundation, and those are like the 3 I can tell you like off the top of my head right now.
Awesome. That's right down the block from our house, Led.
Yeah, right there. Yep. Adrian, thank you so much for being on the show, brother.
Thanks so much. I know you're going. But I'll be watching and listening on the side. And thank you so much again for coming and for being at the show and for having me back on here too. All right.
Yes, sir.
Awesome.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
See you soon, brother.
Friend of the podcast. Thank you. See you. And now,
without further ado,
our brother from another mother, our long lost compay,
What's
Frank
the
de
deal,
las
man?
Mercedes. Frank, thank you for coming on. I know
Frank,
that
man.
you have an open studio. I want to hear all about it. You go way back with Frank. I'll let you do your greetings now.
No, Frank, brother, what's the deal, man? How you been? We talked
What's
about
up, brother?
your Christmas party, the holiday party you had, how great of a time you had, man. Like, dude, you're so
I'm glad.
amazing.
Thank you for coming, man.
I'm glad you're doing the Lord's work in a lot of ways, right? Like you're doing the work that we need for the community, for us as humans. So, Frank, man, talk to me, brother. How you doing?
I appreciate it. Good, man. Just getting through the holidays.
I know.
It's I think like everybody else, I think I speak for a lot of people when like we're ending this year like all right. It's like you got to keep the joy though, but that's what the arts got to keep moving forward,
For sure. No,
Yeah,
for sure. That's, I mean, I think you have to find joy, right? And it's weird sometimes, right? That like, I feel like professionally, in terms of what we're doing, this is the best time of my life, right? In terms of all the creative outlets that I'm involved with, I think, but on the level of where you live, like, is your whole existence is changing. Like every day, something new, something gross. Like it's just like it's so wild. Like that speech that motherfucker gave like a few days ago. Like what was that? Like like it's just a strange world, and it's just like nothing anymore is sacred. But at the same time, you might be doing well personally, or you see your family blossoming. It's a strange kind of surreal thing, man.
Yeah, yesterday I was at a friend's holiday party, and we were talking about how we go through challenges, right? I mean, it's part of life. We all face challenges. We all face it, but it's now it's like they're announced. You know what I mean? Like this is what's going to be happening. Like it's really it's really a weird existence. Like you just mentioned the word existence, and it's like it's sobering. Like to think that all of these things that are happening, we're told, like they are going to happen, and it's always like
they were telegraphed.
Yeah, it's crazy, man.
But the truth of the matter is that joy and experiencing joy and finding joy, that's like a choice it's really a choice. We could very easily go into despair, and it's understandable. But despair isn't the only choice. Joy is there as well, and joy doesn't mean ignoring the realities of what we are experiencing. And I want to tie it into the work that you do, Frank, because I experience joy when I see your artwork, but your artwork ties into the realities, the very difficult realities that we may see in our life. But when I look at your artwork, I think that's joyful because that's beautiful, it's vibrant, but the messaging behind it is powerful. And it's not just like everything's beautiful, everything's great. Yeah. It's like, look, there's reality here. So I want to make sure that more people can see that artwork and own a piece of it or a version of it. So I want to give you the opportunity to expand a little bit on this concept of open studio. What is it, and how can people get involved?
I much appreciate what you just said about, because the thing is, I look to the art myself when I'm facing challenges, right? I look to the poetry, I look to the plays, I look to stuff with substance and context that can uplift, And I think that that's what the art can do. It can uplift, it can expand consciousness as well, And the idea, the real idea behind the virtual, because it's virtual open studio, came from when I was doing the residency at the East Village. I created this one room, which I think you saw at Octavio, the room full of prints, right?
Yes.
And I wanted
and we have
the idea behind that was to create a room where like people were immersed with art, not in a digital way, right? Like, so like people walked in and would be like, oh wow, and looking at all the prints and the portraits. So I did people were able to purchase prints from like the wall, and then that came down, and I had like all the prints here at home, and they were just sitting there, and it's like, I should just like make them available for the people. And I actually made them available at a real affordable price, because it's about the closest to the arts, right? Like everybody should get a chance to own at least a print, of art, because I do believe art is life changing. Life is light, and whatever you post something, it illuminates, right? Like a work of
Mhm.
art. So that was the idea behind it, where I was like, you know what, let me do a tribute to this room, because the room was really special when we was set up when it was set up in the East Village. I said, let me do something with this, and just have people give people an opportunity to own a print, and so like I put them up, and it's on my website. It's called the Print Room, and that is the story behind it, and it's like, I call it like my greatest hits, because it's a work, it's print from works spanning from 2014, which is when I started painting again, up until like 2020. So it's like, some oldies but goodies and greatest hits
Mhm.
of like my paintings, from like some of my original paintings.
Yeah, and I caught one of those prints, Frank. So thank you, brother.
And people are very surprised, because like, because of the price, because I priced them at a like just because I had like a stack of them, so I was like, I want them to go, right. People are like surprised at how great of quality they are, because they're archival quality prints. So I'm very happy about that. And then the other thing that happened was, which ties to what you just said, uh people who also collect my like original work came back and was like, so are you like really sold out of that? Because I want, like, so like they have extended it's really like people who have responded so positively and want one, that they have extended the what I'm doing with the print, and them purchasing them. So
And tell me, like, how do people do, where do they go to make a purchase, or to view the prints, or to do all this stuff? Like, how do people
yeah, it's
get
direct from my
involved?
website. Direct from my website. By the way, I'm very grateful to Uptown Collective. Man, when
Boy,
you
brother.
posted the I believe it's a story or something, but you reposted something when I first put it. Like, there were quite a few like local addresses, and I'm like, that has to be the Uptown Collective. There's no
Oh,
way
that's
like
beautiful.
this came
Thank
from,
you.
because it was like people uptown like just getting a print.
That's
They can go
beautiful.
to FDLM Studio. FD is probably backwards here, but I got like these are the labels from the shipping, but it's like FDLMstudio.com.
Okay, yep.
Nice.
FDLM for Frank de las Mercedes, FDLMstudio.com, and then they can click on shop, and it's the print room is right there, and they can find it there. So,
And
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 yeah,
talk.
and I want to say real quick, I think it's important to support local art. So this is going to beautify your home, beautify
thank
your
you. Yeah,
soul, right? And then help a local artist who's in our community, right? That I'm not going to tell your address, but you're on the same avenue that my mom still lives in, right? Like maybe a few blocks away,
yeah,
right? And I think a lot of times we talk about, oh, the arts, but the arts is nothing if we don't support it, right? And not only that, like we really need to
absolutely.
like we need to really get into that. Like 2026 got to be the year of supporting our own, right? Stop talking, stop, keep those uptown dollars uptown. Like that, it gotta be no more like, and we have to be strict about it. Like, yo, what you gotta tell my man, why you buying art somewhere else? Come uptown, support Noma, support Frank, support Tom. We got all this shit up here. And not to say we shouldn't support other people, but we gotta support our own at the end of the day, right? Because if we don't support, who's gonna support?
No,
Yeah, absolutely.
that is true and much appreciated, because I mean, like, when you go to a Noma show, right? You're always I'm personally, as an artist, always in awe of the amount of talent uptown, right? And like how great that we have this platform that support us, right? And that champions what we're doing, right? Because the reality is, on social media, and it sounds like that joke or that meme, but like, like, support living artists because the dead ones don't need it, right? And
Facts.
like, if you are on social media, for example, you get thrown like the same five artists all the time. They're coming at you, right? And that's great, right? But it's like all the major galleries, all the blue chip galleries, all the auction houses, all, yeah, that's all important. But there's also a wave of artists that have been here, that have been doing their thing for many years. I've been doing this since 2002. I have fellow artists who have been doing it for a lifetime. So it's really important, and I really appreciate the invite for this, because I Octavio texted me and I was like, sure, let's do it. But it is important to continue the expanding the consciousness of people through art, because I think that that's what art can do, and expand understanding. And we need much needed understanding these days about everything, even the things that we don't like. There's something there to understand, and so that's kind of like the route that I've taken with my work, where I want to kind of just bring understanding through my work to people, and not preach, but rather this is the things that I'm myself trying to understand or deal with. What do you think, right? So that's pretty much what I've been doing.
That's dope, Frank. That's dope.
Yeah, and I just want to say, Frank, that in terms of the way that art is life-changing, it's definitely something that has changed your life for the better, and I love to see that story through your artwork. And I think that there's so much of that, and we are doing what we can little by little to chip away and to have a say, and to highlight the people who are in our lives and who are important to our communities. And so that's why you're here, Frank, not just because you're our friend, but because you're somebody who's really doing the work, putting the work out, putting the art out, and making a statement about what's going on in your life and in our lives. So thank you for being here.
Thank you.
Frank de las Mercedes. Once again, tell the people they can go to your website, and how long is this going to be going? Is it indefinite, or is there a deadline?
I mean, I'm going to go with what people say, So as of right now, it's going to go through the end of the year. dlmstudio.com, and then click on shop, and you'll see the print room. But I just want to say how grateful I am for this, and also the importance of what you guys are doing. I am not saying it because, I've said it to you separately without any cameras rolling. It's really important. It's a fresh voice. It's important for our community, and it's important that it's out there, because it is what you guys are doing is really special. I trust that it's going to grow, and you can count on me to support in any way that I can. So
thanks, brother. Appreciate it, man. Frank, we'll talk soon, man.
Guys.
Hey, say hello to the family, brother.
Say hello to the
family. All right,
family.
brothers. Take it easy.
Peace,
brother. And this is no joke, man. Like, we're going from Frank to my man Tom Sanford. Like, Tom, what up, brother? NBA Cup. We got the NBA Cup in the bag now. You heard?
We sure do, man. We sure do. And for me, it's almost a real championship.
It is.
It felt like
man,
one.
it's a trophy. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
it's dope. Cat gave his money to DR, to a program in DR, which I thought was so special. So it was a win for everybody. The win for New York, win for DR, win for NBA. So I'm happy about that.
Yeah, absolutely. I couldn't be more excited. And, I got bigger things are coming, but that's the first trophy we've gotten in my 50 years of life. So that's incredible.
I'll take it.
I'll take it. You know what? We put up a banner for winning the Eastern Conference and for winning the Atlantic Division and stuff. Why aren't we putting up a banner for this? I want the banner.
I want the banner. Put the banner.
And it was a great game, right? Like, the Spurs were winning it. To be honest, I look, as much as I love the Knicks, and I hate the Spurs, but Wemby is a special player. Like, I don't think I've ever seen anyone do what he did. And to be honest, I think his team froze him out of the fourth because they just didn't give him the run. But the Knicks, persevered, showed leadership. That was a great, great game.
Yeah, no, a lot of players came through. Obviously Mitchell Robinson with all those rebounds, like out-rebounding the entire Spurs team in the fourth quarter.
Wild.
Incredible. Wow. Even Jordan Clarkson, he showed up. Incredible play. Just really exciting. Tyler Kolek.
Tom Kolek, that guy's amazing. Like,
Rhode Island's finest.
He does things that don't go on the score sheet. Right, he'll just get in front of a player for defense. He's a really smart player. I really like him.
Yeah.
I will say this though before we move on to your where you're headed to right now. Where I think if
I'm actually
Wemby
headed
was-
right now. I'm running downtown to a dog training with my wife and our dog. But so yeah. But yeah. Anyway, continue.
I was just gonna say if Wemby was full strength, that's a whole different story. That guy's a beast. I don't know if once he's healthy, it's gonna be
Yeah,
a
I was
scary
worried in the
situation.
first half. He was altering our shots a lot. You saw all the players trying to do these like teardrops over him, and they were all coming short. But in the second half, we got tough, and our guys got tough.
It's we.
I was
It's
there.
we.
I was there on the court.
It's we.
Yeah,
They went
yeah.
to us.
I was on the bench.
Well, yo, listen, I appreciate that you're here. We want to give you as much shine as we can. I know that you've got a pop-up event today. And so tell us all about it right now. What's going on?
So yeah, it's a Bacher Backpages t-shirt pop-up. It's down on Orchard Street at 147 Orchard Street on the Lower East Side. So I guess that's like right by Stanton Street. I forget the cross street, but 147 Orchard at a place called Nowadays Creative Lab. And we're doing from 1 until 7. We're doing a print-on-demand thing. So you come down, you pick out your t-shirt, you pick out your design, and we print it up for you while you wait. So you can grab a few t-shirts, if you want, for that special Knicks fan in your life, just in time for Christmas. Because you can still order them online, but sometimes there's a little bit of backup, and they take a few days to come, sometimes a few weeks. But if you want a shirt for Christmas or more, come down to Nowadays Creative Shop, and we will be there talking Knicks and printing t-shirts for you.
And let me ask you a question: do you still have like Captain Clutch? Are you gonna be able to print?
Oh yeah, we every single design we ever made is available. So because we got a hard drive, we probably got certainly well north of 50 designs at this point. We're probably approaching 100 designs. So anything that anyone wants, they've seen on our Instagram, we can make anything for them.
That's amazing.
They've got like these incredible what are called DTG machines, like direct to garment printers, which are kind of like a big like inkjet printer, but it prints on a t-shirt or whatever you want to print on, and they make incredible t-shirts, and we'll have those things running all day.
Yeah, and I hope that. I hope that there's going to be a line. I hope that there's going to be a line around the block of Knicks fans looking for their t-shirts. Go ahead.
Well,
Red.
yeah, I'm sure we'll get a few.
Yeah, especially after the NBA Cup. But I want that Blockness monster. I want to cop that.
Oh yeah, we'll have to get you one of those. Yeah,
really, really cool.
And we got Miami this evening at 6:00. I think Tyler Hero's out. Either way, we should beat them. But big game tonight, and big day down at Nowadays Creative Lab.
Nowadays Creative Lab. You heard? What's the website? If I can't make it today, I got a family engagement. Where do I go to cop if I can't make it?
So BacherBackpages.shop. But if you just Google Bacher Backpages, it comes up. Or if you go to our Instagram at Bacher Backpages, there's a link to it. And you can get any of the shirts we've made on there as well.
And we talked in the last episode when you were on about Bacher Backpages. Now he's an uptown cat too. He's an Inwood.
Yeah, Stephen Delakian. Yeah, he's like, I am sort of number 2 maybe, or maybe number 3, because his girlfriend is very instrumental as well, Chelsea Turner. She's awesome. But yeah, Stephen he started off Bacher like during the pandemic, and initially it was kind of more like he was doing a fake back page of the New York Post or whatever, but like kind of like an Onion meets the Post thing where you're making like spoof headlines about the Knicks. But it's turned into like a much bigger thing where we do that, and we also make the t-shirts and all sorts of content, and just kind of growing.
Man,
That's so amazing.
Man, that's so cool. I'm really psyched that you were able to squeeze us in between your events.
No, it's you guys know when you have kids and a family, there's always something going on. It's like been crazy. I had I don't know if you guys know the well-known Knicks fan JSB Mad Hatter. He's an uptown guy from Harlem. He came over and cut Simon and my hair this morning, and so it's been a hectic morning.
You know what's funny? Before we let you go about your day, like you mentioned this in the last episode that the Knicks fandom is a community. And that right there shows me that like the realness of that. That's
Yeah.
truly.
Yeah, no. So JSB is a guy I've known for like maybe 5 years or so from going to Knicks watch parties and stuff. And you'd recognize him because he always is wearing like the most like souped up Knicks gear. He has these crazy hats. Sometimes he has like ones with like horns coming out of them. But he's a little dude. He looks a lot like Spike Lee. He gets mistaken for Spike sometimes because he also wears like big glasses. Like he has like gazelles normally. And yeah, he's super cool guy, super nice, and he loves to cut hair. So comes by my studio occasionally and cuts me and Simon's hair.
And
awesome.
by the way, I did see. I was watching the last game on Amazon Prime, and they've got the promo. And I didn't know that was you.
Yeah,
I didn't know that was you.
it was
hard
me.
to tell.
That you only see the back of my head. You know, for that shoot, I brought down my big Jalen Brunson cutout, which you saw in the last episode. Sorry about the train going by. But yeah, I brought that down to the court, and we filmed me and George the Messiah standing with it a little bit. But that didn't end up making the cut, unfortunately. But you do get to see me getting clowned by George, which is the best part.
All right. Well, listen, Tom. We'll let you go on about your day. Is there anything? Tell the audience again where you'll be this afternoon and what they can do to acquire their Knicks t-shirt.
Yeah, so come by Nowadays Creative Lab at 147 Orchard Street on the Lower East Side. If you take like the F train to 2nd Avenue or the G train to Grand Street, those are the two closest trains, I think. Anyway, so we're gonna be printing Bacher Backpages shirts. You get to pick out your t-shirt, and then you get to select your design, and then we print it while you wait there. And you get to hang out. There'll be a lot of Knicks fans there you can talk to. Maybe grab a slice of pizza next door. There's a good pizza place right there. And just come and, enjoy the brisk but beautiful New York's winter weather.
That's right. That's right.
We are indoors, but it's kind of a small store. So sometimes people are hanging out outside.
And like I said before with Frank, make sure you support Tom and Bacher Pages. They're Uptown. Let's make this money. Like let's make sure we support. And I don't think you even need that right now because the Knicks are killing and you found that groove. But Tom, man, it's always great to like know you, to do what you do for Uptown. Mad love, brother. See you soon.
Likewise, guys. You guys are a real asset to the neighborhood.
I do have before I let you go, I do have another question. This one comes from my wife Kathy, who loves your stuff. By the way, she was like blown away, and she wants to know: is there a solo show in your future, Tom? Do you have
I don't have a solo show lined up in New York at the moment. I would like to do something during this season, to show some Knicks art. So I'm sure I will line something up. So I will let you know. But follow me on Instagram, Uberkunst on Instagram, and you can find out everything that I'm doing there.
Perfect. Awesome. Thanks a lot, brother. See you soon.
Tom,
have a good one, guys. Thank you so much. Appreciate
you. Thank you.
Later.
Bye.
How do I leave?
There you go.
There you go. Good job.
So, by the way, the reason we weren't live on IG was my fault because I had to go live. So we've been live since Frank. We missed Adrian.
Okay.
Yeah. So we live now, and it actually looks pretty good on IG. You know what I mean? It doesn't look bad. It's just weird because the interface it looks weird, but it's been pretty good. Like a lot of people I know joined, so shout out to them. But good. Yeah, man, I think this was pretty cool, man. Like this was awesome. We had like three creatives.
We just threw it up. We just decided, hey, let's go live, and then I just called these guys up, and then we just made it happen. I love it that we could just do that. That's power, brother. That is real power because you bring the audience, man. You've got such a great audience. You've got such a, you've spent so much time building this community around you. And I'm just glad to be a part of it. I'm just glad that you teamed up with me. And I'm glad that we can flex here, in whatever way we can. And it's chipping away, right? We just chip away at it. This was just another another try, another chip, another brick in the wall. We're just going at it day by day, trying to do better and better, trying to like highlight our neighbors, and frankly trying to highlight ourselves, because like we want to bring our perspective. I think that we have got something important to say. Like I said it before about you, I respect your perspective so much. I don't always agree with everything you say, but I do respect it. I do respect it, and I find myself agreeing more and more to my own chagrin sometimes.
Yeah. We have some intense arguments offline. You know what I mean? But yeah, again, like I want to thank you, right? Because this has been such an amazing experience doing this podcast with you. You do all the really heavy lifting, right? Like I get to just come on and talk, and I like to talk. I'm a talker, you know what I mean? So this has been really good. No, this has been a great experience. And, I also think that like what you were talking about before, and I always told my oldest daughter who's a filmmaker, and I try to do this for myself, is like I create vehicles, right, for my community, that helps my community, right, that helps other people in my community, but also helps myself, right? Like I feel like I have something to say. I feel that it's important to get my feelings out. So in a lot of ways, when I do create something, I'm also thinking that in mind, like, because if you don't create the vehicles for yourself, people may not create them for you. You know what I'm saying? No. And then they may come; those vehicles might come, but you have to create it first. You have to create that interest, and I think that's what the Uptown, it's now 15 years, right? Uptown Collective, right? Like 2010, 15 years. It's gonna be really 16 in February. So it keeps growing. This podcast, I think, is a really important tool, to document, what's happening here, right? Years on the line, you'll see, what's what, how things happen, right? Like that we left a mark, that not just me, I'm saying we as a community, right?
Yes,
right in this call, we had Adrian, we had Frank, and we had Tom, like people doing great things that are from up here. So I think that's super important. And it's, it's inspirational, right? Because once you see someone else do it, you're like, I could do that. I could also do that. I could dream, different. You know what I mean? So I'm excited about that. I also want to say I had we did a Muy Soñando this Thursday, United Palace. It was an amazing show. Shout out to Glorellis, Mora, and Sasha Mercy. Like, and a lot of times, like when I say people don't realize what it takes to do things, right? So, it was in the United Palace. But before the show started, Sasha and I, we're putting the step and repeat together. I'm holding it. She's screwing the stuff on the bottom, right? And that's what it takes. That's what you got to do, But it was a great show. There was a bunch of new comedians that I hadn't seen before. I think Ashlyn, I want to say, I don't want to mess up her name, but last name, I think, was Salzano. She was amazing. The lineup was incredible. Splu, who's been killing it on social. There. He was the headliner, really. It was a great show. Shout out to Mike Fiddleson, the United Palace. Like Mike Fiddleson, I've known him forever. We got to get him on the show. But him being a part of the United Palace has opened so many doors, right? And, he's always one who's like, yo, Lev, what do you want to do? What do you want to do uptown? Like he always asks me, and I tell him, and he does that for me, which is crazy, you know what I mean? And we had a really good conversation that I don't want to talk too much about yet, but there's some exciting things that I'm going to do next year at the United Palace. We're going to do more Muy Soñando in the United Palace, but there's some other really cool things that we'll be announcing soon. I'm having the meetings, early next year about that. But again, the United Palace is super important. It's the People's Palace. And it's about creating these things, like just highlighting. We could win just by ourselves, right? It's Uptown versus everybody every day. Like that's how it got to be.
And if not just by ourselves, we can actually make sure that the people who want to support us, who are curious and interested in our community and want to be a part of this, where they can reach and be a part of this, like where they can reach and see what's going on up here and they can be a part of this. I do think that like keeping us going and making sure that we're attracting, the money and that we're attracting the eyeballs and that we're attracting people who want to know. I mean, you've said it before. It's the truth, Uptown, whether it's Harlem or Washington Heights or South Bronx or Inwood, we're not just communities. We're history. We're culture. We're like the epicenter of culture for a lot of the United States. Mm-hmm. The United States and the world look to us to see what's going on in the culture, whether it's urban culture, whether it's the arts culture, whether it's all kinds of spoken word culture, whether it's hip hop. Like there's so many folks here, Uptown and all over New York, really. But we're focused on the Uptown people who are trying to make their voices heard, to try to like impact and create the culture, and so it's that old adage, act locally and think globally. I think that's what you can say that we're all about, is we're acting locally because we're trying to like focus in on this community, but the issues that we're bringing up, the cultural aspects and the cultural wins that we're bringing up, are not just about this community. They're the same issues or similar issues that many other communities are experiencing. And I really hope that other communities will do this as well, that they'll also find some way to like highlight their own stuff so that we can all learn from each other. It's not just about just us, it's about learning from each other. It's about seeing what's on everybody's mind in an unfiltered way, right? Like everything about mainstream media, it gets filtered through a certain prism. And, that's fine for what that is, but this isn't that. This is us filtering it through our own personal prism of people who live in this community.
But it actually isn't fine, right? It isn't fine, right? Because what's happening, right, is you have this consolidation, right, that's happening with the media. That's Barry Weiss. Like, what's funny about Barry Weiss being the head of CBS? She is not fit for the job, right? When she said she started the Free Press, I thought it was this big, that's a Substack. It's a fucking blog, and this woman is the head of CBS, right? And then Ellis controlling Oracle, controlling everything. It's not okay, right? And I'm glad that we're doing it, but it's messed up that when you turn on your TV, all you see is lies from both sides, right? From CNN, MSNBC, none of them are really telling the truth, right? Like there's protests against Trump all over this planet, but you don't see that when you turn on the TV, right? Even from the stations that are supposedly on your side. But again, that's why what you were saying before about the.
Let me just say, when I said it was fine, I didn't mean that I'm okay with it. What I mean is we get it. We understand that that's what's going on. It's not okay. You're right.
Yeah,
it's not okay.
It's not.
It's not okay. It's a shame, and it's terrible. But the fact is, though, that's been the way it is even before Trump. It's not something new. It's always gone through the prism of corporate news, and whatever the corporations are okay with, then that's what gets on the air.
Yeah, it's always been bad. But I'm saying we live in a different era, right?
Absolutely.
They're like when you're not seeing it. When what you see on your TV screen and what you see on your phone screens are two different realities. And it's gotten to another point. And I want to say two things. First of all, boy, you were saying about, learning from other people. Like that's what this is about, right? Because as ICE, comes in and marauds in our community, right? Like that we see that what works in Chicago, what works in LA, and then we do some of those things as well, like having whistles, look out for each other, recording everything we can, right? And telling your neighbors. I think we're learning a lot from that. You know what I mean? I think that's super important as we enter 2026, as the machinations, right, come forth, right? Like I saw a thing where they're trying to push a bill where they're going to try to denaturalize you. So if your parents are not U.S. born citizens, right? Again, that hasn't happened, but the fact that we're even talking about that in 2025, right? About the fact that they are taking citizens, and if you get caught up in this, it doesn't matter if you're a citizen or not. You're gonna go through it. Some people, some people might be lucky to get out of 2 weeks. Some people are doing months. They just deported a little 6-year-old boy. Like last week, they grabbed a pregnant woman in Minnesota and dragged her. Like this is insane what we're living through. Insane.
Yeah, that's the point. I think that you very eloquently clarified is that right now, what's happening in the media, this consolidation, is not that new, but what's new is when it's happening and who it's protecting. It's protecting basically an administration that is a dictatorship, that's authoritarian, that is looking to take away rights from Americans, right? American citizens. It's not about, in most of American history, as problematic as it is, we've been gradually, adding to the rights that we have. There was gay marriage. There was the right to vote for everybody, for women, for blacks. Little by little, as backwards as it was when it started little by little, we were adding and adding more and more rights for people to live freer lives. And what's happening now is we're in an era of repression. And the era of repression is not just an era of repression against undocumented immigrants. It's not just an era of repression against documented and legal immigrants.
Mhm.
It's also an era of repression against all Americans, because
Facts.
all of our rights are being taken away or trying to be chiseled away. You know, I really pray for this country. I really pray that we can keep our voices heard. I really pray that everybody can unite, and I hope that the pendulum of politics will swing back to somewhere where
To what where we got to swing back? Like, what are we talking about? So we want
To the
Biden
left.
again? No, we need to go again. The thing is, you know what I realized? I was thinking about it yesterday. that first of all, like, you know, like, again, so Trump hastened the decline, and he supercharged it, right? So and because he's special in the way that no one ever has been like him, right? No one has concentrated so much power, has done so much like harm, and this is what you know, the people in power, the corporate power, the oligarchs, that's what this works for them, right? But what I realize is that, like, we're 10 years in now. This is the Trump era, right? And I would say even the 4 years that Biden was president, he really even wasn't president. Trump,
He was. Yeah.
what I'm saying, during the time that Biden was president, Trump was still more important to him, right? And Biden did nothing. Like in Brazil, what happened to Jair Bolsonaro? My man got hemmed up, right? That's what should have happened here. As soon as January 6th happened, Trump should have been under the fucking jail, right? But we don't do that because he's a white man, right? And we let it. We again. Trump is everything that's wrong with America, right? There's this kind of elevation of white mediocrity, right? And again, there's no norms, right? You could destroy the East Wing of the White House. Oh, that's okay, right? Imagine, I mean, just like, really, again, I hate to say that, but what if Obama had taken the East Wing for a ballroom, right? Or had called, you know, to say something disgusting like Rob Reiner, or if Obama had that given that insane speech that Trump gave the other day, which was completely ludicrous. And basically saying, it's not my fault, it's all Biden's fault, right? But you say you could fix everything in a day, right? Like, what happened? So what I'm saying is that's why this 10 years has been Trump's era, and we've all, and again, instead of Biden and the Democrats doing anything to counter it, right? They just wallowed, and again, they put Israel before America. I had to say that. They did that again, right? It was funny, right? I don't know if you saw this. The Democrats are refusing to release the 2024 autopsy of the election that came out. They're refusing to release it, right? It's already done, but they're not releasing it, right? Because the Democratic Party died in Gaza, right? Because they refuse to do the right thing. Kamala Harris is not it. She is not it. A lot of these people are not it. Like, we need a restructuring on both sides, right? The whole both sides thing is just ridiculous. It's a lot of times it feels like they're just playing together, and they're playing in our face together. And I want for 2026. There's a lot of things that I don't want to see Chuck Schumer no more. I don't want to see Hillary ever again. I don't want to, just shut your fucking mouth. Shut your mouth. I don't want to see you anymore. I don't want to see a lot of these people. And again, we need, again, the thing is that, like, sometimes Trump is like, oh, not Trump. It got to be not a lot of this stuff, because all these other things led to Trump.
Yeah. Well, look, man, I know I think you're right. I do hope that the pace of the decline is scaring enough Americans, those Americans who voted for Trump as like a middle finger, but they didn't really believe in him. I hope that it's scaring them to see like what the true power was that they gave up by electing this despot is, and that those folks will have a change of heart. It's 10:59. I know you got to get going, and I just want to say one thing about what I've been doing with Uptown Voices podcast. We do have under construction a new Instagram page. It's going to be dedicated to this podcast, so just keep an eye on that. And we're going to be, sharing stuff that we talk about on this podcast. We're going to be elevating our community, and so please, if you haven't started started following us on Instagram, please do. It's at Uptown Voices Podcast. And as always, Led, what you got any last words before we let you go about your merry way on this Sunday, December 21st, a couple of days before Christmas?
Happy holidays to everyone. We're gonna keep rocking out. I have a few things that I want to talk about. Another point, I want to talk about my favorite album of the year. So I've been listening to an album. I'm not gonna say what it is. I'll say this: my favorite album was gonna be the Clips album this year, because when that came out, my daughter, my oldest daughter Imani, just kept like, "Dad, you got to hear it." But I was listening to an audiobook and I didn't want to interrupt it. And then when I finally heard it, I had to give Imani credit. The album was outstanding, and it was going to be my number one. And I think maybe not a lot of, if you're not a hip hop head, you might not have made that number one. But I think unanimously, if you're a hip hop head, that should be your number one. But this album came out in October, the one that I'm going to mention at some point next week before the year's over, and it's blown my mind. I feel like it's the album I needed to get in my life for 2026. It's one of my favorite artists. But it's going to be a take. No one's going to have this as the album of the year except maybe the artists themselves, right? But or if you I say it's this much, it's a reggae album, reggae dancehall album. And it's my number one album of the year. And just want to talk we're gonna keep going, right? We're gonna keep rocking out, hitting you at least once a week, maybe twice a week, and keep supporting, subscribe to our YouTube, and show love, follow the IG, you know what I mean, and just stay up, because we're gonna do a lot of stuff. I also have a lot of plans next year to do a lot more events, and do a lot of more like live things. We also have live things for Uptown Voices. We're gonna be doing some in-person cool stuff. You know what I mean? So stay tuned, keep following, keep showing love, and spread love is the Uptown way. That's all I gotta say, brother. Thank you.
All right. Yes, sir. Thank you all. Thank you to our viewers. Thank you to the community. Thank you to our supporters. Thank you so much. Have a great Christmas, and stay tuned. On Tuesday, we have a new episode coming that we're dropping with an incredible guest, Diana Ayala. She's the city council deputy speaker representing East Harlem, El Barrio. She's an incredible interview. You're not going to be disappointed. She's really, her story is, I didn't realize her story until we spoke to her, and it's something to be wowed by, and to be impressed, and to be inspired. So thank you. Spread love. Led, thank you. I'll talk to you soon.
We'll talk soon, brothers.